the CEO's formula for winning negotiations. In the high-stakes world of business, negotiation is far more than a simple transaction. It is a sophisticated performance of psychology, strategy, and leadership. Top-tier CEOs rarely approach the table with a combative attitude or a demand for dominance. Instead, they view negotiations as a delicate dance of information gathering, relationship building, and value creation. By using precise, carefully calibrated language, they can shift power dynamics, uncover their counterparts' hidden motivations, and guide the conversation toward outcomes that are both strategically advantageous and mutually satisfying. The following phrases represent the elite negotiation repertoire used by successful leaders to command the room and close deals effectively. 1. Help me understand your perspective on this. Rather than immediately countering an opposing offer, a CEO will use this phrase to disarm their counterpart. By inviting the other party to explain their logic, they force them to articulate the why behind their position. This is a critical intelligence gathering move. It often reveals hidden constraints, internal pressures, or personal fears that aren't immediately obvious. Once you truly understand the motivations of the person sitting across from you, you can tailor your own value proposition to directly address those concerns, effectively turning a potential conflict into a collaborative effort. 2. How do you think we should address this gap? One of the cardinal rules of negotiation is to avoid making the first concession. When a proposal seems misaligned, CEOs use this question to shift the burden of problem solving onto the other side. By framing the discrepancy as a shared challenge, you encourage the counterparty to suggest a bridge or a compromise. This allows you to evaluate their flexibility and ensures that any movement toward a middle ground is initiated by them, keeping you in a position of control while appearing entirely reasonable and solution-oriented. 3. What would it take to make this work for you? This is perhaps the most powerful investigative tool in a negotiator's arsenal. When you reach a stalemate or a firm no, this question bypasses the rejection and dives straight into the conditions of yes. It forces the other party to define the specific variables, be it price, timing, or scope, that would satisfy their requirements. By uncovering the true deal breakers, you gain the data necessary to construct a creative proposal that clears their specific hurdles without unnecessarily sacrificing your own margin. 4. I'm not sure the value proposition is aligned here. When price becomes the primary point of friction, less experienced negotiators often retreat into defensive bargaining. CEOs, however, use this phrase to redirect the conversation back toward value. It effectively signals that the current offer does not accurately reflect the worth of the solution being provided. By challenging the alignment rather than the price, you force the counterparty to defend the worth of the deal, often leading to a realization that they are undervaluing your contribution or that the deal itself is not yet mature enough. 5. Based on our current trajectory, I have concerns about. Precision in language is a hallmark of leadership. By anchoring a concern in a current trajectory or an objective trend, a CEO removes the emotional weight from their objection. This turns a subjective complaint into a reasoned, professional observation rooted in data or project realities. It communicates that your hesitation is not a personal whim but a calculated response to evidence, which makes your position much harder to dismiss and sets a serious tone for the remainder of the discussion. 6. What are the risks you see in this approach? Instead of pointing out the flaws in an opponent's plan yourself, ask them to do it for you. This question forces the other party to mentally walk through the potential failure points of their own position. When they are tasked with identifying the risks, they naturally become more cautious and defensive regarding their own plan. This often leads them to become more receptive to your suggested mitigations or alternative strategies, as they have already acknowledged the validity of the risks involved. 7. Could we explore a different structure? Negotiations often stall because parties become fixated on a rigid, traditional framework. A CEO knows when a deal structure is no longer serving its purpose and is not afraid to pivot. By suggesting a structural change, such as introducing performance-based metrics, tiered delivery schedules, or phased equity, you demonstrate high-level creative problem-solving. This shift signals that you are committed to the partnership and the outcome, rather than being wedded to a specific, failing method. 8. Let's look at the long-term impact of this decision. When a negotiation becomes bogged down in small, transactional details or petty concessions, it can easily lose its strategic focus. This phrase acts as a zoom-out button. It elevates the conversation from the immediate, granular problems to the broader, long-term implications of the deal. By reminding the other party of the bigger picture and the lasting value of a successful partnership, you make short-term demands look trivial, effectively pressuring them to adopt a more reasonable and collaborative stance. 9. I'm prepared to move forward, provided that. Clarity is a form of power. This phrase establishes a firm, non-negotiable condition for progress, creating a clear, if-then, relationship. It is the antithesis of indecisiveness. When a CEO says this, they are signaling that they have done their due diligence and are ready to finalize the deal, but only if the final, crucial term is met. This authoritative tone creates a deadline-like pressure and demonstrates a clear, decisive leadership style that commands respect. 10. That's an interesting angle. Let me think about that. In negotiation, silence and time are your greatest allies. Beginners often feel pressured to respond immediately to every offer, which often leads to impulsive concessions. By using this phrase, you reclaim control of your cognitive space. It allows you to analyze the offer, consult with your team, or simply wait for the other party to become uncomfortable in the ensuing silence. Often, in their rush to fill the quiet, they will say more than they intended, providing you with even more leverage. 11. How does this fit into your broader objectives for this year? A common pitfall in negotiation is realizing too late that you are talking to someone without the authority to close. This question is a tactical probe to determine where your counterpart sits in their organizational hierarchy and what the true incentives are. If their answer is vague or disconnected from the core business, you know you need to pivot your strategy to reach the true decision maker. If their answer is specific, you gain insight into their strategic KPIs, allowing you to align your proposal with the personal success metrics. 12. What is the primary constraint holding us back? When a deal is near completion but remains stalled, there is almost always a hidden, invisible opponent, a budget committee, a rigid legal department, or a cautious stakeholder. By asking this, you position yourself as an ally who wants to help them overcome that obstacle. Once the constraint is identified, you can work together to craft the specific language or data-backed arguments they need to convince their internal team, effectively turning them into your advocate within their own organization. 13. If we were to sign today, what remains the biggest hurdle? This is an excellent closing tactic. By introducing a hypothetical, sign today, scenario, you remove the hypothetical nature of the discussion and turn it into an immediate, real-world action. This forces the counterpart to identify the final barrier preventing the agreement. Once that hurdle is identified, the entire energy of the negotiation is funneled towards solving that single, remaining issue, drastically accelerating the path to a signed contract. 14. I believe we've reached a point where we both need to be creative. There are times when the standard, traditional path of negotiation simply fails. When that happens, a CEO doesn't just walk away, they invite the other party into a brainstorming session. This phrase acknowledges the reality of the situation without assigning blame. It transforms the atmosphere from one of conflict to one of shared invention. It is the ultimate sign of a leader focused on solutions rather than just winning, and it often leads to breakthroughs neither party could have conceived on its own. Mastering these phrases won't just change the outcome of your next meeting, it will change how people perceive your authority. If you're serious about leveling up your business game, hit that subscribe button for more strategies that actually move the needle. And tell me in the comments, which of these phrases are you putting to the test in your very next deal? I'll be watching the comments. Let's get to work.